listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion has gotta go. Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is the inimitable Don Baker.
Hey, good to be here.
I hope that means what
Not me.
Today is Sunday, September 15th. We're a live call-in public access show based in Austin, Texas, dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We're available through live streaming video at ustream.tv. The official Atheist Experience website is www.atheist-experience.com. You can also provide feedback by commenting on the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP, or you can email us at tv@atheist-community.org. If you enjoyed today's show, then please check out our related podcast, The Nonprofits, which is airing on the first and third Wednesday of the month, and the award-winning Godless Bitches. You can find links at the Atheist Experience website. I don't know what Godless Bitches' schedule is right now, but the next episode of The Nonprofits will be live in 3 days on Wednesday, September 18th. As always, the cast and crew of the Atheist Experience will be going to dinner after the show at Threadgill's at 301 West Riverside Drive. We'll be arriving at around 6 p.m. Now, as I was just mentioning, the Austin Chronicle has just finished their yearly awards for the Best of Austin. Now, longtime viewers will of course know that the Atheist Experience has been the best public access TV show in Austin, according to the Austin Chronicle's staff and viewers, for the last 3 years running. And yet, somehow suspiciously, it didn't look to me like there was a best public access TV show category at all in this year's rankings. So we didn't place again, and we'd be mad, but it turns out that Godless Bitches is now the best podcast in Austin. That's right, bitches.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the gang.
Yeah, congratulations, Tracy, Jen, Beth, the founder, and occasionally Linnea.
Mm-hmm.
You totally deserve it. Bat Cruise is still coming. 2 weeks from now, Saturday, September 28th. From the actual cruise itself is 6 to 8 p.m. Prior to that, there's going to be an open house at the ACA Library, which you can get in from noon on, and then the great P.Z. Myers will be giving a lecture on bat evolution at 3 p.m. And that's it.
Okay.
Hello, Don.
Hey, good to see you.
I presume that Christianity has failed again.
Failed again. Well, this time it's God, and so you can sweep this under the rug of Judaism too.
Okay.
And
in this case, a failure to exist, I would think.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be a short topic, I guess, if I did
That's
that
true.
one. But yeah, that would certainly count. So today is my 18th failure show. So much failure, so few gods.
I would think you would have a good show once in a while.
Right. Today I'm going to talk about God's mistakes. And the only tangible evidence we have of God is from the Bible itself. And you can call that evidence or not. I don't think of it very much as evidence. And the Bible paints a picture of Yahweh as kind of rather clumsy, dumb, temperamental, sort of storm god kind of God. Nothing like the alleged omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent God that people think they follow. And if the God of the Bible is such a screw-up, why worship him? Maybe it's because people want to suck up to power, or maybe because they haven't looked at the Bible. People haven't looked at the Bible very critically. I don't know. But regardless, God's mistakes are another failure of Christianity. It's not really a God there. So today I want to talk about the Garden of Eden, Satan, the Tower of Babel, the flood, and various other punishments, covenants with Abraham and David, this Jesus character and where he came from and what he's supposed to fix, and many others. There's a whole list I have that I'm not going to go into great detail on. In the Garden of Eden, God sets up this garden place with Adam and Eve in there and says, don't eat from that tree over there, but boy, the God sure could have put the tree outside the garden, and he certainly has a means of putting a fence around the garden and these sorts of things. So, and guess what? This accident actually happened. The Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then but who's at fault? Well, in the story, it's Adam and Eve at fault, or Satan maybe at fault, or the snake. But who is really in control was God Himself, and so there's a sort of a blame the victim sort of thing here, and even later on in the Bible, God admits in Jeremiah 18 that He kind of made a mistake there when He created humans and kind of got it wrong.
Oops.
Well, what about the Satan character? Who is that serpent? Well, it's not very clear early in the Bible that the serpent is Satan, although a lot of folks seem to have make that equivocation. Wasn't he at fault? Well, God created him too, and God let him go into the garden when He could have kept him out. Presumably better gardening sort of thing. So. And God even created evil itself, according to Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create the darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things.
Can I just interrupt for a minute here, because a lot of people fail to understand dramatic irony.
Okay.
And just point out that when Don says that God is failing to do all these things, he has not developed a belief in a God who actually
right.
fails.
I'm talking about the God character of the Bible.
A character in the Bible. It's the same thing we would do if we were discussing all the cunning plans that Blackadder has ever made.
Right, or Voldemort or somebody like that. Yeah, that's kind of where I put it. It's one of the bad guys in literature.
Right.
Right. So in other parts of the Bible, Satan is God's son, and he's called the Son of God a number of places. And he's supposed to be a bad guy, but he never lies or kills, or in the Bible that I'm aware of. So, and he's always sort of blamed for these bad things that happen, yet God seems to be powerless to stop him. And God never punishes Satan, although humans deserve eternal torment for being tempted by Satan. So go figure on that one. And later in Job, we figure out why Satan's has this special place, and that's because Satan and God are gambling buddies. So you can go look up that story. Later on in Genesis, we have the flood, and we have the Tower of Babel, and the flood is really sort of all these humans are wicked, and we're going to just kill them all because I couldn't have done made a better thing, apparently, according to the God. And in Genesis 6:1-4, you kind of find out why they're evil, and that's because they've interbred with the sons of God, and the daughters of man have interbred, and so they're definitely wicked because of that. So what does that tell you about the son of God if they had to be destroyed and we don't have to be destroyed? So anyway. The Tower of Babel, if those humans in Genesis 11, those humans get a little too uppity, maybe they should get smacked down. And really this is a just so story about why we speak different languages, although it's yet another smackdown from God. And again, who's really in control here? If God is in control, He shouldn't have to do these things. And why does He keep blaming humans on these things that are ultimately His fault? And the main theme in the early part of the Bible seems to be might makes right. And that's kind of the character we're getting here. Later on in the Bible, God makes a bunch of promises. So in Genesis 22, there's a covenant with Abraham. God promises Abraham a whole bunch of land in exchange for being willing to kill his kid. And I liken this episode as something like a gang initiation ritual, where he says, put a hit on this kid and you can be my special guy, that sort of thing. And in Genesis 22, 17 through 18, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply the seed as the stars of the heaven, and in the sand which is on the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, and thy seed shall all the nations of earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So God has chosen Abraham's children to be the blessed people. But what's happened to the Israelis or Israelites or the Hebrews since then? A lot of pretty awful stuff in more recent times. So this whole blessing thing didn't work out very well. Well, what about the covenant with David? Well, in 2 Samuel, God likes David quite a bit, and he says to him, 2 Samuel 7, 10 through 16, and I'm eliding part of this to make it shorter. I will appoint thee a place for my people in Israel, and I will plant them, and they will dwell in a place of their own and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness affect them any more as beforetime. Also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee a house, and thine house will be thy kingdom in thy house, and thy kingdom will be established forever before thee, and thy throne shall be established forever. So God promises David that his kingdom will last forever, and it didn't, of course. It was destroyed 400 years after that and was never rebuilt. So that promise didn't help. And this whole God...
I want to get a little meta here, if you don't mind. All these promises about their everlasting favor are being made to the Jews, who are at this point in history a very, very small and dwindling minority. And one of the major concerns of Jews is that Judaism is kind of gradually dwindling, not just due to enemies, but due to sort of a gradual loss of interest. I mean, it used to be very strict that Jews would have to intermarry other Jews. I mean, just marry each other instead of going outside. That's what Fiddler on the Roof is, sort of grieving at the end that the daughter is marrying a goy. People are not that concerned about keeping the bloodline pure, and there are all these sort of weaker strains of Judaism, like the one my sister and I come from, and
Reformed.
Right, and so even though there was a state of Israel sort of forcibly created 50 or 60 years ago, as a whole, as a culture, there's a lot of worry among Jews that their traditions are kind of falling by the wayside little by little. And so I wonder how that fits in with these supposed promises. Of course, Christians would just say, oh, well, Jews lost the mantle of being the chosen people or something, or some of them would. Yeah, and there's this blame game going on that, hey, maybe they deserved it, but there's really no caveats in the Bible as far as, oh, well, you got to do this for me in perpetuity. It's really sort of, hey, David, I like you. This is going to happen to you because I like you, sort of thing, and made a forever promise that wasn't kept. So, and I know that the Jews in earlier Judaism were very concerned about some of these broken promises because it really does fly in the face of some of the things they thought about their God, right? If we're really His chosen people, and He made this promise to us, how has this failed? What's up with the Holocaust? Right. That's more modern, and certainly Jews have suffered a lot of persecution, even last 1,400 years or more. Right, sure. So on these promises, it reminds me a lot of a drunk father that promises his kid, hey, I'm going to take you to Disneyland and just any day now, and never quite keeps them. So those are two of the main promises he made that weren't kept. There's this whole Mary and Jesus thing in the New Testament. Well, God ends up impregnating a virgin without consent from her owner. Now, remember, women were owned and they were property, and she wasn't yet the property of Joseph at that time. So I don't know where her father was, but he wasn't keeping a good eye out for her. And
so through this child, through Jesus, there's effectively a revision of Scripture because he couldn't even get that right. He had to come back and revise it, and ended up leaving a confusing mess where what some of it some Christians think is okay from the Old Testament, some of it's thrown out, and there's a whole game here of spin doctoring whatever Old Testament thing you want and saying, oh, that's still valid, and other things are not valid, and you get to pick and choose. And anyway, and then the mess continues with Muhammad, with God 3.0, and with Mormonism, God 2.1, and these other minor variants running around. So there's just a major confusion going on because he couldn't get the Scripture right to begin with. And then he has to kill his own son in keeping with the blood sacrifice law, which presumably he made up and was unable to change himself, to atone for his mistakes of making that were made in the Garden of Eden. So the whole reason for Jesus existing was to fix a mistake, presumably, that God set up, and there had to be this atonement. So it's just all very crazy as far as I'm concerned. So there are many other mistakes in the Bible. I'll just touch on these briefly. There was the inability to tell the firstborn for God to be able to tell the firstborn Hebrews, and during the Exodus episode, and when God sent the plague into Egypt, he needed a little reminder of, hey, don't kill these people and kill these other people instead.
I mean, he couldn't just poke his head in and see,
yeah,
there's Jews in here. They had to paint their doors.
Right. So that was kind of lame. We have in cosmology, we have this giant universe that's supposedly for the sole purpose of creating mankind. Isn't that awfully wasteful? We have the intelligent design of humans and other living things, which if you can look on the web, there's lots of non-intelligent things as far as the design goes, and that's another topic entirely. There's a mistake of having con artists, demagogues, liars, murderers, and pedophiles as his marketeers for his religion. Maybe he could choose folks a little better. There's the problem of him wanting us to know him, but doing such an exceptional job of hiding. It's a bit of a mistake as far as I'm concerned. So the conclusion, I have a quote from Richard Dawkins here. The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all of fiction. Jealous and proud of it. A petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak. A vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser. A misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal,
sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.
Say that 3 times fast. Anyway, and he certainly made a lot of mistakes in the Bible, and chalked that up as another failure of Christianity and Judaism and all that. So, okay.
Thanks, Don.
Sure.
We got a returning caller from last week, John in Chicago. John, first of all, welcome back.
Hey, Russell, how's it going?
And second, I'm sorry, but I'm going to limit you to 10 minutes this week. If hope you don't mind too much.
Sure, no problem. How's it going, man?
Fine. What's up?
Yeah, interesting topic. Mistakes. I would say that there are a lot of things that we could look at as mistakes. It just depends on how we choose to look at it, in the proper context in which we perceive these so-called mistakes. And I get the impression that you're giving your viewers a very one-sided interpretation.
Well, this is an atheist show, after all.
You and them both to look at both sides, talk to Bible scholars and historians, and get the full scope of the discussion, not
all right,
just one
well,
side.
We've got you on. You're currently representing the other side. Is there anything in particular Don said that you want to take issue with?
Yes. Going back to the book of Genesis in the Garden of Eden, to say that God made a mistake and that he had to come and undo his mistake with Jesus, I think is false, because he created us with free will according to the Bible. And if God came and
the phrase free will never appears in the Bible, as far as I know. That's a modern rationalization. to be sure. I've heard that before, but I don't know of it anywhere in the Bible.
Well, I'm not sure if the term free will was directly stated, but it says that we're created in the image of God, and God had the choice to create or not. And if the point is, we're moral beings in the image of God. Therefore, if God came and intervened,
were they moral before they ate of the tree of good and evil?
What's that?
Were they
moral beings?
Were they moral beings before they ate of before they knew about good and evil?
According to the Bible, yes. God said He looked at everything and it was good.
That's not my understanding of it. Is that they were more or less automaton before they got tricked into eating from this tree, right? They didn't have a moral sense.
Before they ate the fruit, did they know that eating the fruit was evil?
I'm not sure if they had knowledge that it was evil.
Okay.
But the concept of good and evil certainly existed.
Then what's the fruit?
The proof that morality existed?
No. The fruit. What was the fruit? What was it?
Well, there's a number of different interpretations on what the fruit actually was. Some people say it was a sexual act between Eve and the serpent, which the serpent obviously wasn't a snake. In ancient Hebrew, the word serpent means whisperer. So people take that out of context as well.
So the fruit was a metaphor? It wasn't a fruit at all?
Just like the serpent is a metaphor, I'm sure it wasn't a talking snake.
Okay. So you don't really...
We are too.
So you don't really think the Bible means what it says? I guess that would make you not a fundamentalist Christian.
No, I believe what it says, but I believe a lot of it is metaphoric. And if you approach the Bible with a very negative and immature perception, then you
how do I know what's
metaphor?
Yeah, how do I know that Jesus wasn't an aardvark? I mean,
because there's actually historical records of Jesus.
Well, no, there's the Bible, but that's it.
No, there's other historical records.
Not contemporary, no.
You can check with historians on that.
Yeah, we have. There's not.
I believe that's absolutely wrong. There was historical
well, you can
proof
believe
that
that
Jesus actually existed.
No, there's not.
Not outside the Bible.
Say that, but you're wrong.
Okay, I mean, we can keep doing this all day.
Yeah,
but
you can look it up
but
themselves.
we looked it up.
we welcome you to.
A historian that will say that there's no historical record of Jesus.
Pretty much,
there's record of stories of Jesus. There's record of Christianity, but there's
there's records of Jesus himself and evidence for Christianity.
Not contemporary with him. The first book of the Bible, the first we hear of Jesus, was written like 30 years after his death. And then after the Bible, there weren't any writings of him until like 100 years later.
Well, it's historical record, just like we have historical records.
They're really not there.
Stories. It's stories, and there's no contemporary
What
ones.
record are you talking about? Can you give an example of that record?
Well, like I said, we can go back and forth and debate this, but you can check with
So you don't have that particular... I would recommend that the next time you call, you have a specific source you could cite.
Sure, I could look.
Okay.
I could look
so we can table that for now. Else? Yeah, we can table that for now then.
But back to the main topic. If we are created with free will, if God came and intervened in every single little thing, then we wouldn't be as special of a creation. That's the point.
Can I do anything that nature doesn't allow? Can I live forever? Can I kill God? Can I fly? Can I
What's that have to do with morality?
I'm debating whether this free will thing exists at all. It seems like there's this thing called nature out there that limits me, but I can't point to anything that God has given me above and beyond that.
Do you have the freedom to make choices?
My dog can make choices.
That's free will.
Yeah. Okay.
God gave dogs free will?
Okay.
We have free will within our physical universe. We can't break those physical laws, but we have freedom of thought.
Well, I don't think that this is much of a gift, to be honest. I don't think there's any real gift there beyond things that I already have.
I don't know. I'm not going to agree with you. I like the notion of having free will, whether I actually have it or not.
Well, there's a whole philosophical rabbit hole that we can go down
I don't
there,
think we should get into that. But did God know that Adam and Eve were going to eat the fruit?
Yeah, I mean, did they have free will?
I think he did, yes.
He did. So, I mean, in some sense, he made the choice to put the fruit there, knowing in advance that they were going to choose to eat the fruit, right?
Yes, but he didn't make them eat it. That was their choice.
But if he didn't want to eat it, then he knew in advance that was going to happen. He could have not put it in there, right?
Well, that would assume the intentions of God. That's assuming that he can make a universe and a moral universe without good and evil together. What is good without evil? What's a crooked
So
line
he's got
without
some
a straight
limitations,
line?
is what you're saying. He's got some troubles.
Say what?
He's got some limitations. He couldn't possibly make a universe where they didn't eat from this tree.
That's very possible. And to
Okay.
assume otherwise is nothing
Well, then
but
why are
an
you
assumption.
worshiping this guy? He seems like a kind of a screw up to me.
I mean, that is one response to the argument from evil. God could just not have enough power to prevent it.
Well, what is evil according to your worldview? What is your foundation for what evil
Well,
is?
I mean, we're talking within the context of the biblical story now, right?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like when Don was talking about that. I mean, God definitely refers to some things as evil in the Bible. So I think we can say that within the Christian framework, there's definitely evil stuff, and it definitely happens.
Right.
Yeah?
I agree. But
So
the
God
point I
doesn't
was-
have the power to prevent it, is what you're saying.
Did he have the power to prevent evil altogether?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a quote in the Bible that he says he created evil.
that's true.
Right. Well, that's the thing. If there was no evil, then our free will, we would basically be God's puppets, and he didn't want that. He wanted us to recognize evil and choose good over evil to find our way to him.
Okay, getting back to the dog, when my dog chooses between her toy and eating, which of those is evil?
Why would either one of them be evil?
Right. So you can have free will without having without having anything to do with evil, right?
Right, but evil exists. That doesn't negate evil just because your dog chooses not to do evil things.
Well, if
Okay.
the universe had no evil in it, my dog could still make this choice and have free will, right?
But we're talking about humans. We believe that the Earth and the universe was created for humans. We are
This
we are
wasteful
moral
universe,
beings,
right.
not dogs or cats. Not to say that they're not quote-unquote moral or whatever, but this is about us.
I think Don is trying to say that you could still give somebody free will without planting things like the tree of knowledge, which are just basically, a sucker's trick to get
Right, I understand, but
into
what
doing
is
something
good
that they didn't
without
really
evil?
understand the implications of at the time, maybe.
But what is good without evil? How could we recognize what is good without knowing what evil is?
I don't know. Who cares if we recognize it or not?
Well, that's the whole point.
You know,
of the argument.
there's everybody has the potential to do harm, and that might be a synonym, an atheist version of evil. And we don't have to do harm. We can all live together and not harm each other. I mean,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's nothing saying that you're evil if you are an atheist or anything.
Right.
But
some people think
atheism
we are.
has no foundation for what good or evil is if you believe that we're just products of mindless evolution.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, I don't agree. I mean, people don't like to get hurt. And I think that
We have
we've
the
got
ability
a
to-
social consensus that people who go around deliberately hurting other people for no reason is something we don't like.
Okay, here's a question. Is
Okay.
it really wrong to kick an innocent baby? Is that really wrong to you, or is that just subjective?
To me,
it's harm.
yes.
It's harm.
It's harm. So there's something really wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where do you
because
put
it harms the
concept
baby.
of right and wrong. Where's your foundation?
Harm.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I'm
you-
coming at things from a human perspective where I care about not getting hurt and I care about other people not getting hurt.
And we have empathy
Right.
for other people.
But I said you could have 10 minutes, so I'm going to give you the last word and let you go. Do you want to wrap up with something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, as an ex-atheist,
Okay.
I had to, in order for me to believe, I had to look at things in a different context, in a different perspective.
All right.
I couldn't hold on to those negative things. And there are other answers out there to those questions. They might not be what you like to hear, but, I mean, they're there. So
Okay.
look at it if you choose, but enjoy your Sunday, man. It's good talking to you again.
You too. Thanks for calling
Thank you,
back,
John.
John. Bye.
Yeah. I guess everybody was an ex-atheist because we're all born atheists, right?
Well, sure.
Some of us were not
Another Chicago call. This one is from Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's you.
Hello, I am an atheist, but I wasn't
Right.
born that way. Just
Party
on a
on
side
with
note.
Okay.
I've got a philosophy of religion class, and the teacher put up a couple videos for us to watch. One was Carl Sagan explaining the Drake equation, and the other one was somebody else with a video called The Privileged Planet. And it's just about the statistics of how likely it is for there to be life.
Wait,
and
was
intelligence.
your professor pushing creationism on you? Because the privileged
No.
planet. Okay.
No, the question that came after both of those videos was, so what?
Okay.
And the first video with Carl Sagan came out with a probability of like maybe 10 planets with life at some point in the existence of our galaxy. And then the other one was something else that had like 20 more variables in the Drake equation.
Right.
And I don't understand how those variables can be in one equation and not in the other. I mean, wouldn't you want to use the same equation to figure out that?
Well,
out?
the Drake equation is kind of a scientific guess, right? It's a sequence of probabilities that you multiply together to maybe arrive at what's the likelihood of life or intelligent life in the galaxy or universe or whatever, and all, you know, the existence of those terms and the numbers used for those terms are all guesses, right? They're all just, you know, what we think might be, you know, given certain assumptions, what's likely to happen, and they may or may not be right. You know, it's all sort of a matter for debate. But that's probably the best thing we have as far as figuring out whether there's, you know, extraterrestrial life in the galaxy or the universe is this sort of educated guess.
Yeah, they're educated guesses, sure, but I mean, I'm reminded. I read a book by Nate Silver called "The Signal and the Noise," where he was talking about the ability to figure stuff out based on probability calculations. And what he said is, if you're dealing with a really unfamiliar set of unknowns, you know, your prediction can only be as good as your as your inputs. And when we're dealing with other life in the universe, we have exactly one example of life evolving in the known universe, and that's
On a
us.
planet, right?
We don't really have any way of figuring out how likely it is to happen elsewhere, and you know, we can come up with educated guesses, but it's a lot like, why didn't we predict 9/11 happening, for instance? It's because that sort of thing never happened before, and so there's really no way of making an estimate of its probability.
Well, the second video's equation on the privileged planet, it had like the first same 3 variables, and then it had a bunch of others, like we would have to have our specific kind of sun, and the planet has to form so that we have tectonic plates and have an iron core to create an electromagnetic field. I feel like all of those things would happen normally, given the composition and the manner of the development of the galaxy. I feel like our solar system would form very much the same as any other solar system, simply because it's the same galaxy forming.
I don't think there's any way to know that. I think we'd have to know enough about planets and other solar systems.
The most common elements in the universe, and they're the same as the most common elements found on our planet.
Sure.
And it seems to me that the variables in the second I just get a bad feeling when I see them. It's an uneasy, doubting feeling.
It's good to question things. It's good to question the Drake equation and the assumptions that went into it, and see how sensitive the answer is to the assumptions. And in this other equation, whatever they added on, be skeptical and ask, why is that there? Why is that important? And maybe it isn't. If we're just talking about intelligence at the end of the day, we're interested in how intelligent life comes about. Well, plate tectonics may or may not be that important to that, right?
Right.
So
we don't know that life necessarily has to be made of carbon. There could be silicon life forms, or there could be clouds of intelligent gas in a gas planet somewhere. For all we know, we haven't seen any, and we don't know how likely that is or how possible it is. But that's one of the big things we just don't know.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I guess I don't really have anything else to talk about.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Take care, man.
Thanks, man. I want to go to Derek in Philadelphia.
Hello.
Hey. Hi, Derek.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
It's like such a relief to actually talk to you guys. You don't understand. It's a very lonely position to take as an atheist.
Yeah, I bet.
And especially a black atheist.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, being a black atheist, it's a very confusing position because you're kind and you're wondering how certain fundamental things about Christianity you aren't questioning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you realize that nobody reads this book. Nobody reads it at all. They can't, or they just take, if they're given a test, it's probably just on a certain book or something or a passage. But nobody is really taking it seriously.
Having some beer or wine helps.
Not thinking about it and just accepting like certain phrases like Jesus is my Lord and this and that.
Right.
It's very easy to gloss over details.
Yeah.
And, even when I was little, I think I knew about dinosaurs. I accepted dinosaurs before religion was actually pushed on me. One of my first questions was, where dinosaurs at in the Bible? And, you get nothing.
Well, I know lots of Christians turned atheists deal with that kind of childhood skepticism without a lot of support. Why do you have any speculation on why it is that it's particularly tough to be a black atheist?
Oh yeah, because we have been so fucked up. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Okay.
That's all right.
The censors don't really watch us that carefully, but
I'm sorry. Yeah,
but how so? How has it been messed up?
Yeah.
Oh, the brainwashing.
Who's doing the brainwashing?
From my experience, what you need to really take from the African American in America is a textbook example of how you can really screw people up. The history, everything that's been done, the brainwashing that still continues. It's a textbook example of how you can jack everything up about a people. I mean, we're lost.
Are we talking about like going back to slavery and some kind of permanent damage was done at that point, or what?
Yes, that is very permanent because just take this for example. A lot of European Americans can trace their history back to Europe. And they can go back so far and really cling to a pride and cling to something. What I always said about slavery was it totally wiped our history out. We don't know what we were for real. Our history, because nobody bothered to really keep particular records. It's like keeping records on cattle.
Right. I'm sure a lot of times slaves were illiterate, and I mean, in most cases, and the slave owners just didn't care that much.
Exactly. I mean, who cares about tracing you back to Africa when you're here in America working for me as like a plow? So I care not about you. Why would I even trace you back? Who kept the records? Nobody. So you come to America and you start from zero, basically.
But this was a long time ago, and one of the things that concerns me about what you're saying is it. Don't get me wrong. I think that the blacks in the United States have suffered a lot and have been given the short end of the stick a lot. But I'm kind of having a dialogue with you here. You almost sound like, okay, there's like this conspiracy, or there's these people out to get the blacks and to brainwash them. Who's behind it? I mean,
no. I actually don't think now that today anybody is out to get black people in particular. What has happened is the hatred that is residual between blacks and whites. It's really not based on anything except for just behavior that has rippled from the past. But it shouldn't be there anymore. And if we could all clear our minds and like really cling to the fact that hey, we're just both human, and these differences that we're saying between each other, that was from an argument long time ago, which we've tried to repair throughout history over and over and over again.
So it sounds like there needs to be a reset button today. Where when the blacks are brought over, when the slaves are brought over, they sort of lost their history. Maybe it'd be a good thing today to lose the history, right, and start fresh.
Yeah, I would really like that.
Derek,
I would really love to press the reset button. It's just
hard
the problem
to do.
One of the issues I was saying is that one of the differences that I've noticed between blacks and whites is the ability to pass on assets to generations.
I mean, black people have that ability too. It's just that they're starting from sort of a cultural disadvantage as far as having come from a situation recently where there was a reset button pressed, so that like has maybe ongoing effects about who tends to have who tends to start out with more assets, because
well, people don't like to give up their privilege, and we see that with Christianity today. They have a lot of privileges, like prayer in school or invocations at various events and things, and they don't want to give that stuff up. Right, it's a big battle when there's a church-state separation fight. So I see that there. I see that maybe that's human nature to want to keep the privileges you have.
I want to ask you something specific though, Derek. Would you say that there's anything that the worldwide atheist community could be doing better to meet and address the needs of black atheists? I mean, have you got anything constructive that you could help out with?
Well, how about the fact that Christianity was not our religion before we came over here?
But
would you want to go back?
Black religion.
Would you want to go back to whatever that?
No. It's a good way to just reset. I mean, if you don't accept, whatever tribal religion it was we had over there, or if it was a tribal religion, I really don't know. That's one of the problems, is that I really wouldn't even know what religion we had over there. But besides that even the fact that it was just the fact that your slave masters gave you this religion. This Christianity was not something you fumbled on yourself.
Well, the way I heard it is that the blacks, when they were released from slavery, they had gotten some indoctrination in Christianity as slaves, but when they got released from slavery, they wanted to be like the big guys, right? They wanted to have that religion and these sorts of things. That's how it was explained to me. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's this weird thing where it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome. You want to be like your captors or empathize with your captors somehow.
I can totally see that happening. I mean, especially if you want to. Basically try to be accepted as a person, and you see that they take this seriously, then you may want to take it seriously too.
Right.
To finally fit in America, in a sense.
I mean, But it sounds like part of the problem is maybe that there's not a wide enough support group because black people and atheists are both minorities, and so when you combine those two, it's
doubly
especially hard to come out and find your group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just that, but there's so many black people that are theists or claim to be theists that it's like standing against the group. You're like really the odd man out.
Yeah.
In so many areas, nobody wants to really accept that label, and it's such a hard thing. I came to realize that because I realized only in the last few months from listening to you guys show that.
Yeah.
I must
Derek,
be an atheist 'cause I claim agnostic.
I'd really, I can't keep you on for much longer, but I'd really like to help you hook up with other black atheists. So I'm going to recommend you check out a couple of sites. I want to plug the Black Free Thinkers, who originated as the Black Free Thinkers of Atlanta, but have spread around. So look that up on the web and see if you can find
fairly
anyone
new national
nearby.
group. Right?
Yeah, they're national now.
One other thing I wanted to ask you guys, so far as with atheism, the way that we kind of go about explaining ourselves, I think a more realistic approach to coming at a lot of people that are theists would be actually the job of the scientists, in the sense that people don't respect other people's jobs so far as engineers, people that can get rockets into space. They don't disrespect that. But when the theories come down to it and the hard work that these scientists put in to find out this information and this data and
yeah, science is hard work.
Not respected at all. I don't get that. I just don't understand how, somebody just off the street could say, I don't believe that. And it's like, well,
I think you see more of that in the United States than in other countries. There seems to be an anti-intellectualism that's pervading the United States that I think is very disconcerting, and I think that's part of it, that the scientists don't know, or the scientists just have an opinion or whatever.
Yeah,
and so there is a lack of respect, I agree.
It takes a lot of different approaches. Like, you would like to think that you can just tell people, here's the science, now educate yourself, you dumbass.
But they tell you in the cell phone and a computer, and it's funny, because it's like, okay, that's the same thing. Like,
right.
That's the science that got that there for you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying people don't always respond well to that because they're didn't always become Christians for intellectual reasons, and they're not necessarily going to be talked out of it for intellectual reasons. And that's why I personally feel that a social movement that meets the needs of various different members of the community is important. Right. And that includes like specific outreach to black atheists.
Yeah, so if you're going to jump out of Christianity, you have to have something to jump into, right? That sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like you to check out the Black Free Thinkers, and I'd also like you to look up my friend Ian Cromwell, who runs a blog called The Communist Manifesto.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time. I don't I want to let another caller get in. So,
all right.
Thank you, guys.
Nice talking to you, Derek.
Nice talking to you guys. I hope to call in again.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Who else we got?
I lost it. Okay, Mitch in Oakland, California.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I just moved out here from Atlanta last year.
Moved out to Oakland, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what you got for us today?
Well, I wanted to talk to you about these, Christian debate tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm a non-believer. And, I notice every time I hear a debate on any kind of show where someone's trying to prove God or disprove God, it always goes around in circles, and the argument never ever gets off the ground, and it's really annoying. So what I do when I debate somebody about it, I just cut straight to the chase and say, no, prove Bible God, because that's usually the one they're trying to prove.
Well, that's important, right? To say which God you're talking about, right? If you're not doing that, you're wasting your time probably.
Right, but usually, like they'll say a creator or some kind of higher power or something like that. And they're talking about Bible God, but they, they want to call it something.
Pare it down to the minimal thing that they can try to prove, right?
Right. So when you cut through all that crap and just say Bible God, then See, because they try to shift the burden of proof on you by saying, prove there's no God. And then I say, look, prove Bible God. And then that puts the burden right back on them.
Yeah.
Right. Does that,
that's,
in your opinion, does that usually lead to fruitful conversations, or do some of them just say, get pissed off and tell you to get out of there?
It doesn't get fruitful. It makes my route to victory that much quicker and easier.
Well, I mean,
well, you're doing two things right. You're defining terms, which is always a good thing, right? What are we talking about here when we mean God, right? That's a good thing to pin down.
that is a very good start.
And then you have pretty clear in your mind who has the burden of proof, right? If you're saying
Right.
I don't believe, then it's the believer who has the burden of proof to show you. And I think those are both very good things. And you can make a case that the Bible God doesn't exist or doesn't make sense or is goofy, and you can certainly do that, but it's not your job to do that. So,
right, and Steve, they try to do that. They try to use that same old tire tactic, putting the burden of proof back on the non-believer, and then when you cut through, when you put, say, Bible God, you eliminate that, and then I can start using their doctrine against them, because it's so ridiculous, and I can start pointing out all the usual atrocities with Old Testament.
yeah, and then you get into there's no true Christian, the no true Christian fallacy. Oh, they're not true Christians who did that.
Right. Well, and in line
and
with
the old law, new law controversy, where they tried to. I say, well, hey, if homosexuality is so bad, how come Jesus never said anything about it? They try to say,
question.
well, when he said a man will cling to his wife and blah 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 blah.
You'd have to look real hard to find that one.
About
right.
homosexuality. That's
Right.
like me saying I love steak. Oh, Mitch just said he hates chicken. That's what they try to do. And,
along the lines of what Don was saying, another thing that I like about what you're doing is that, whether it's getting down to those specifics or not, it's always to your advantage to go on the offensive when you're arguing with somebody and not. I mean, you're all generally in a better position than just trying to answer all the things that they have. So any time that you can take the upper hand and introduce your own ideas into an argument,
Right.
That's likely to be a win for you, because it's not something that they're necessarily prepared for, or they would have brought it up.
Right, and there's
Yeah,
another
exactly.
point. They like to change the subject. It's like when they get cornered, they say, "Oh, but what about this over there?" And want to change the subject on you, and that's always annoying.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
can get
I
the
don't let 'em
runaround
do
that
it.
way, right?
I stick to this. I don't change. I don't let them go off into something else because it's just another tactic. But I stick to the whole proving your argument, and it's usually them that are trying to prove it. I don't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
And but once we establish that it's Bible God, that just opens the door up to a full assault. I mean, I got nuclear missiles, I got warheads, I got MAX-10s, I got grenades, and they just have they're holding up a piece of plastic to try to protect themselves.
Yeah, but then they retreat to, well, you just got to have faith, right?
Oh yeah, that's when all else fails, faith, or they'll just tell me I'm going to hell, and I just laugh. I say, hey, you're going to Oz.
Right. All right. Well, Mitch, we're running out of time, so thanks for calling.
Click those ruby
All right,
slippers.
fellas, take care.
Okay. Some very good points there.
Okay.
Alison in Austin.
Yes,
Hi. How are you?
I have quite a dilemma. I visit people on death row, and being a compassionate atheist, I need to be able to give them words of solace and hope, and a lot of them are religious, and I can't really say to them, I'm praying for you, or
right.
because it wouldn't be true, but I just don't know how to deal with the religious ones.
Well, that's a tough situation,
Yeah, because it's not like, I mean, when you're dealing with somebody on death row, things have already gone terribly wrong for them at that point, and it's kind of hard to make a reversal there.
I thought of a rather cynical thing that you can say was, smile, there is no hell. Sorry.
Well, I can say that. I can tell them I don't believe in hell, but
right.
My goodness, it's I mean,
you know what I think you can do in that situation is get them to talk about their beliefs, and you know, you can be frank about what you believe in, and it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen from here, and you know, I'm rooting for you. I hope the governor calls, or whatever you might want to say there.
But I don't think it's your job necessarily to cure them of religion, like right before they go to their execution.
No.
I mean, I even under the best of circumstances, if somebody tells you, you know, I totally believe in God and here's why, and it gives me comfort and blah, 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 most of the time you're not going to change their minds.
No. I don't think that's the purpose. I think the purpose is to give them some human companionship and somebody who might care about them a bit, and I think that in itself is very, very valuable. And
and I feel like if I were in that situation, which I certainly don't plan to be, one of the things that I as an atheist would find valuable is just getting someone who would listen to me, just getting someone who would, you know, to whom I could tell my story and have them, you know, be right there with me when they say, "Oh, that's terrible, and that's really sad for you, and I feel bad." Just that kind of empathy is probably comfort.
Yeah.
That's a very valuable thing, and don't discount that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're not necessarily asking you to fix their problems that they've already created, but I think that
it's just that I get religious messages from some of them in the mail.
Yeah.
And it may not even revolve around the Bible or God or Jesus or anything like that, but everlasting life is a great part of it. I mean, will you live on after death or not?
Yeah, are they nice religious messages? Are they at least saying, you know, you're a very nice person and God will smile on you?
I mean, God bless you, and thank you for being in my life and all that, you know. And
well, just take it as the sentiment, right? They're trying.
I agree,
They're trying to be positive, and just take it as that, and don't get too caught up in the religious message. That would be my advice. I think what you're doing is great, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Russell?
I guess, all right, thanks for calling. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It looks like we're probably out of time. I got like 40 more seconds, so no more quickies. But there's two people on the line. You know, we'll talk to them after the show.
Okay.
And thank you again for being on with me, Don. Remember that we're going to El Arroyo at 6, and the Bat Cruise is in 2 weeks, nonprofits in 3 days, all kinds of stuff to look forward to and be happy about. So,
and congratulations again to the Godless Bitches.
Yeah.
How awesome.
Good job, ladies. Bye.